Good evening and welcome to our Thursday Throwdown, our storytelling showcase. We are so glad you're here. I'm Carly Davis. I'm an instructor at the Storytelling Institute at South Mountain Community College. For 27 years, the Storytelling Institute has been promoting storytelling as an academic discipline, as an art form, and as a tool for building community. Just like us here tonight, we are now in community together. We are so glad you're here. Plus, it's fun. In that spirit, we are celebrating tonight April Fool's Eve, this night with Trickster Stories. Is that a real holiday? It should be. Maybe after you hear our storytellers tonight, you will have a new appreciation for tricksters. I think you will. Let me tell you what will happen tonight, what to expect. Trickster stories. Okay, but what? Tonight is not a TED Talk or a motivational speech. We are live from our houses, coming into your houses. Thank you for having us. Tonight is live storytelling, and that is like a visit. And you know how to do that. You open your heart and your mind and you receive the stories. All of our tellers are students of the Storytelling Institute, and they have practiced. But like every person is different, every story will be different. So we ask you just to go with it. Our tellers tonight are Jonathan Gonzalez, Nereyda Martinez, Carlos Fernandez, and Sebastian Hernandez, Sage Valenzuela, Rebecca Love, Alan Melendez and Jonathan Lira, Jaelan Jackson, and Mindy Tarkini. Let's get right into it. But I want to let you know our very first tellers tonight are having a little bit of technical difficulty. Seems like the spirit of the trickster is already with us. So they are going to be joining us with audio only. But we are going to bring up all the rest of our tellers to appreciate their story and listen along with them. And we invite you to do the same. Carlos, I'm so sorry. Alan Melendez and Jonathan Lira are telling audio only, and we are here to appreciate them. Let's get right into it. Gentlemen, you are up first, and the floor is yours.
Hello, my name is Alan Melendez,
And my name is Jonathan Lira.
and today we're going to be telling a story called Captured by the Gods.
So in the beginning of the story, there's a guy named Loki, and in Asgard, he will annoy and prank all the guards there, and will always make fun of them. But then one day, he was involved in Balder's death, and he will also abuse the gods. And so the gods got so frustrated that they decided to punish Loki. And when Loki found out, he started running away from Asgard and climbed a mountain to the very top, built his own cabin with 4 doors, and started drinking his hot cocoa.
While he was doing anything else, like just to have fun in general, he would shapeshift into any animal he would want. Like, for example, he would want to just turn into a bear to run freely around the woods, just exploring around. He'll become a bird and fly high in the sky. But his favorite animal to become is a fish. And he just likes to stay in the water just to swim around and enjoy life. And when he's done, that will be until the morning, until he has to sustain himself to eat something to eat. And, well, he will go fishing. But one day, the gods found where he lived. Odin knew where he was at, so they all went to where he's at, and they found him. So Loki was afraid, so he turned himself into a fish and burned his fishing net, and he tried to escape inside the water. But the other gods, Odin, they also had a fishing net, so they try to snatch him inside the water so they can pick him up and take him to his punishments. But he couldn't. Loki couldn't escape. So it's either he had to play off a risky move and jump into a waterfall that's next to the fishing area, or get caught by the guards. I mean the gods. And he obviously chose to go with the risky play, and he jumped into the waterfall, but Thor got him and he captured him. And when he did, Thor was punishing him for all of the mistakes that he has done. And that's about it. And the moral of the story is, don't get yourself in trouble. That's going to obviously cause a lot of things for you. You're on mute, miss.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Alan, Melendez, and Jonathan Lira, for telling your story tonight. I think a tandem audio-only storytelling for tricksters is just the perfect way to kick us off. So thank you so much. As I said, all of our tellers tonight are students, either of the Storytelling Institute at South Mountain or at our partner, Arizona Agriculture and Equine Center, Charter High School, as part of the Art of Storytelling class. We are so proud of them for working on their stories and for volunteering to share these stories with you. They'll have to tell me later if they were voluntold, but I believe they were volunteered. Our next storyteller tonight is two tellers. We have another tandem storyteller partners who are about to tell us their trickster story, Carlos Fernandez and Sebastian Hernandez. Take it away.
Hello, my name, she introduced us. All right. So our story originated in the African native cultures, and the name is called Hawk, Why the Hawk Killed the Chicken. And it starts off with this hawk, and he's soaring in the air. And while he's soaring in the air, he sees a chicken, because the hawk's eyes are like lasers. And the chicken, well, she's a young, beautiful hen. So he swoops down and so the hawk swoops down and he comes and greets with the young chick. So obviously they're talking with each other, and it goes well. They're talking well, beautiful. So and then and then and then they start like getting into detail, and they start playing around, and then the hawk suggests, "Hey, might as well get married." And then the hen said, "Yeah." The hawk was unexpected, and it was surprised, and then, well, he agreed with it at the end. And then so he goes and he talks to the parents. The parents don't approve of this at first, but a little bit more convincing from Prophet of Corn, they agreed. And then later on, there was this young rooster. He comes out, and obviously he catches the eyes of the young chick, and then they started talking to each other, and obviously the young chick fell in love with the young rooster. So then the young chick wanted to have a divorce with the hawk. Unfortunately. Yeah, that sucks. Um, Rip. And afterwards, the the hawk sued the young hen, and the young hen was upset. But the thing is, the young hen was poor. Her family was poor. They couldn't get any profit to get the lawyers, and so the king decided, as like a way to pay the hawk, because of the the just what would you say, inconvenience, the king decided that the hawk could kill the little baby chickens whenever and wherever he wants. It's kind of sad, but the moral of the story is don't get seduced because you might lose something great. That's it.
Thank you so much. That is a perfect moral of the story. Thank you, Carlos and Sebastian, for doing a tandem storytelling. That is a special art. As you can watch, it's kind of like planning a tennis match. You have to know when it's your turn and when it's the other person's turn. Thank you so much. As I said earlier, all of our tellers this evening are students, which means that behind them, and no doubt cheering them on right now, are their amazing teachers. Let me take this moment to thank Liz Warren, the founder of the Storytelling Institute, and Kathy Shimpock and Chantel Freed, two of our beloved storytelling instructors, for bringing our tellers to this point. Look at our students telling their stories. This is not an open mic. This is not improv. All of our students have spent 1 or several hours preparing. Thank you, teachers. I would like to next bring up Rebecca Love for her 3-minute trickster story.
Helps if you unmute. We're never going to get past this in the pandemic. Right. Once there was a young boy named Jack, and he was very, very poor. But he tried to save a penny here or there when he could. And by the time he was 21 years old, he had $100 in his pocket. And he said, I'm 21 and free. I've got some money. I'm going to go out into the world and seek my fortune and find something to invest my money into. So Jack goes down the road a little farther and a little farther, and he runs into somebody. It's the devil. And the devil says, hey, Jack, where are you going? Jack says, I'm out to seek my fortune. I've got $100. I got to figure out what to invest my money in. Now the devil, he said, you know, I have $100 too, Jack. How about we put our money together and we invest in something together? And Jack thinks, and he decides that's a mighty fine idea. So the Jack and the devil think and think, what are they going to do? And the devil comes up with the idea. Jack, we need to grow some corn. There's definitely money in farming. Everyone needs corn. Jack agrees that's a good place to start. So they get some land and they till it and they plant the seeds. And the corn grows higher and taller, and it's almost time to harvest. And Jack and the devil figure out, how are we going to split the profits? And they think and they think. And the devil says, you know, Jack, I think you should take everything above ground and I'll take everything below ground. I'm kind of a below ground fellow myself. And Jack says, that's a great idea. So when it comes time to harvest, Jack gets all the corn and the fodder, and the devil's just left with the roots. But the devil, he's a pretty easygoing guy, and he doesn't have any problems with it. They decide to go into business again next growing season. This time, potatoes. And they till the land, plant the seeds, the potato plants grow and grow. And the devil says, you know, Jack, you took above ground last time. I think it's my turn. So I'm going to take everything above ground this time. You take what's below. And Jack agrees. And this time, Jack gets all the potatoes and the devil is just left with the tops. Now, the devil's starting to run out of money. And he says, Jack, we'll do this one more time. But this time, let's do something different. Let's raise some hogs. So they take their land and they build a fence all around it. They buy some sows and a couple of boars. Before they know it, there are piglets, and the piglets grow up into fine, fat hogs, and it's time to harvest the hogs. The devil and Jack think, how are we going to split the hogs? And the devil says, I've got it. We will run and catch all the hogs we can and throw them over the fence into the neighboring field. And anyone you throw over, you keep, and anyone I throw over, I'll keep. And Jack says, that's a great idea. So they do. They're running around the field. It's getting muddy. They're being strong and fast, catching these pigs, throw them over the fence. It takes 2-3 days to clear the field. But finally, the last hog is over into the other field. And Jack and the devil are like, oh, we did it. But there's a problem. Devil turns to Jack. Did you count Jack, do you know which ones are yours? Jack said, I didn't count. You didn't count? No, nobody counted. How do they know whose hogs are whose? So Jack says, wait a minute. I know what I did. Every hog I threw over the fence, I put a curl in its tail. And the devil looks over, and lo and behold, every single hog has a curl in its tail. Devil says, Jack, I don't think I can go into business with you anymore.
Rebecca, thank you so much. That's the perfect punchline on that ending. Thank you for sharing a Jack story with us. Are you inspired to learn a trickster story? Would you like to tell a story yourself or with a friend? I'm putting into the chat right now the link to the Storytelling Institute. You can come learn those stories with us. We would love to have you. We teach trickster stories, but also traditional stories like myths and legends, personal stories. Hello, I know you got some personal stories. We offer customized training, workshops, college coursework, certificates in storytelling, and an annual calendar of innovative events, just like this one. I want to bring up our next teller, Sage Valenzuela, is here to share their story for tonight's trickster. Take it away, Sage.
Hello, my name is Sage Valenzuela, and I will tell you about a trickster's tale called Locasena. So the sea god Gamir invites all of the gods to a feast, and he told his servants Fimafung and Elder to welcome the guests. As they were praising the guests, Loki was incredibly jealous and threw Fimafung onto the floor. The gods had enough and kicked him out and continued onto their feasting and drinking. Loki then returned to the feast even after he was kicked out, and he demanded a place to sit and some ale. Bragi, the god of poetry, told Loki that he was unwelcome, and then Loki reminded him that
Are you in here, Sage?
Loki reminded Odin about an ancient oath that they had that they should drink together, and Odin then he couldn't say no, so Odin asked his son Vidar to give up his seat for Loki. Loki then challenged Bragi and started questioning his courage, insulting him. And then when Idun, the goddess of rejuvenation and Bragi's wife, tried to hold Bragi back, Loki insulted her, calling her promiscuous. Gefgon then tried to speak, but then Loki critiqued him too. And then when Odin interrupted him, Loki called him unjust and unmanly. Frigg, the goddess of marriage, life, and magic, and also Odin's wife, tried calming all of the guests, saying that old stories shouldn't be retold. And then Loki targeted her too, accusing her of betraying Odin with his brothers. And then this banter continued with Freya, Nenjord, Tyr, and Bigvir all confronting Loki. And then they each ended with insults from Loki. Finally, Thor, who was absent for most of the feast, arrived and warned Loki to be silent. Loki then taunted Thor and said that Thor would never be bold enough to fight against the wolf when he swallowed Odin at Ragnarok. And then he also made fun of Thor's journeys, where they said that Thor cowered under Skymir's glove. And then Thor had enough and threatened him with his hammer. And then Loki laughed and then left the feast, saying that he was satisfied because everyone got a sharp end of his tongue, and then said that Thor was the only one whose threats he could take seriously. And that's the end.
Sage, thank you so much. I wrote down unjust and ungodly. That's quite an insult. That's one for the ages. Thank you so much for your story. Our next storyteller is Jaelan Jackson, who is here with their trickster story. Take it away, Jaelan.
Hello, so I'll be telling the story of Uladun, the kidnapping of Uladun. So So Udon was a beautiful goddess with long golden hair. And her role in the pantheon of gods was her special apples allowed the Iser gods to keep their youth and to stop aging. And so one day the god Loki was in captive by the giant thighs who was flying in the air carrying Loki, and Loki made a suggestion. He said, if if you let me go, I promise to bring you Eodun. And so Thighs allowed Loki, freed Loki, and when Loki got to Asgard, he told Eodun, I found some fruits that are even more marvelous than yours. And believing Loki, Eodun followed him to a forest, and while Thies was waiting, he saw her and immediately swooped down and carried her off to his lair. And now that Uladine was gone, her special apples were gone as well, and this caused the gods to start aging and getting old. And they suspected it was Loki's doing, and they got incredibly furious with him and threatened to kill him if he didn't bring her back. Not wanting to be killed, Loki took one of Freya's cloaks, which allowed him to turn into a falcon. And he flew all the way to Thyses' lair, where he saw Uadun in a cage, and to get her out, he transformed her into a nut and flew off with her. Thighs, realizing this, went after them, and as they were as Loki was getting closer and closer to Asgard, the gods saw Thighs flying, and so they set his wings on fire, and so Thighs' wings caught fire, and he plummeted to his death. And the moral of this story is, in my opinion, is to don't tell lies. You don't telling lies will not only can get both you and someone else in trouble.
That is good advice, Jaelan. Thank you so much. Thank you for your story. We are rounding the corner on our event this evening. 3-minute stories go really fast, actually. But don't worry, you can get even more stories on our website. We have our podcast, which is all students telling their stories live in just one take. Just like us, doing it live in just one take. Check us out. I'm putting that link in the chat. We have one more storyteller this evening, and she is here and smiling and ready to tell. Nereyda Martinez, take us home.
I will be telling a traditional Mexican tale retold by the author Yuyi Morales. It was dawn, and Grandma Beetle had grabbed her sturdy and old broom when she hears a knock on the door. She opens the door. Senor Calavera. Mr. Skeleton. He had arrived, and he tipped his black top hat and said, It's time you come with me. Oh, just 1 minute. I just have to sweep one house. He had some time, so he sat on her wooden chair, took off his hat, and waited. But as soon as she was done, he rises up. Just 1 minute. I have 2 pots of tea that I need to boil. I guess it doesn't hurt if I wait a little longer, he thought. But as soon as that tea was done, he grabs his hat. Just 1 minute, Señor Calavera. I have 3 pounds of corn tortilla, 3 pounds of corn to turn into tortillas. She's testing my patience, he thought. But as soon as he saw those 3 stacks of tortillas, he dashed to the door. Just 1 minute, Señor Calavera. I have 4 fruits to slice. Hey, this is taking longer than I thought, he said. So as soon as that fruit salad was made, he said, yeah, vámonos, let's go. Just 1 minute, Señor Calavera. I have 5 cheeses to melt. This is getting out of hand, he said. So she melts the cheese. He grabs her sweater. Just 1 minute, Señor Calavera. I have 6 pots of food to cook. Fine. So he waits and he counts all the pots that she's cooked, of the food that she's cooked. And he brings out his arm to escort her out. Just 1 minute, Señor Calavera. I have 7 piñatas to fill. He thinks, it's getting late. So she fills all the piñatas and he goes and opens the door. Just 1 minute, Señor Calavera. I have 8 platters of food that I have to set on the table. He stomps in frustration. He doesn't even notice that she's done. Señor Calavera, come, look at my 9 sweet and grandchildren. They've arrived. Yep, there's 9 of them, he said. She gathers everybody at the table. Come, all my 10 guests have arrived. Her granddaughter says, but there's only 9 of us. She brings Señor Calavera closer and says, Señor Calavera makes 10. And now it's time to celebrate my birthday party. And they did. They ate and they danced. It was a blast. And as her party came to an end, she swooped up her 9 grandchildren and just loved on them, kissed them. And then she hollered to Señor Calavera, I'm ready now. Señor Calavera? He was nowhere to be found. She goes and she sees the front door cracked wide open, and then she finds a note. Dear Grandma Beetle, I had a blast at your party. I wouldn't have missed it for the world. I'll be here next year. You can count on that. Sincerely, Señor Calavera. So Grandma Beetle comes and she closes the door behind her with a smirk and feeling accomplished. I will count on that.
Nereyda, thank you so much. I really relate to Grandma Beetle with all of the dishes and all the food and all the children. Yes, I'm glad to know that I can keep Señor Calavera at bay. Thank you so much for your trickster story. Well, friends in the room and friends in your rooms at home, we did it. Can you believe that was all those trickster stories in this short of amount of time? We did it. I just would like to say thank you to all of our tellers, Alan, Jonathan, Carlos, Sebastian, Rebecca, Sage, Jaelan, Nereyda. Thank you so much. And thank you, audience, for spending part of April Fool's Eve with us. More information about the Storytelling Institute is in the chat, and please leave some love for our tellers in the chat. I see you have been all along. Thank you so much to our community for supporting us. Good night. Good night, everyone.